Afternoon, lovely people here at the Academy. It's open this week at British Open, the wind. I'm getting blown over here in the Academy. For you Americans, this is like proper wind, not just when the flag sort of flaps a little bit. So we've got to change our flight a little bit in these conditions. And we're going to talk a little bit now about, and probably take this silly hat off, we're going to talk a little bit more about how we control our flight to control the ball not climbing too much in the wind. As I say, if you're playing out in Arizona, I'm pretty sure it's not too windy there. Texas, I know it can get a little bit windy. Australia, I know it can get really windy down here. And where we are here on the coast in Kent, again, near St George's, where the Open's held, Prince's and Cinque Port's, again, where the Open has been held back in the past. We're lucky to have 3 golf courses, amazing golf courses right near us. We're not even a mile from the sea here, so we get some serious wind even here at Chesterfield. So we're going to talk about how to knock shots down and take some spin off, so hopefully that ball doesn't climb and get out of control. Right, okay, so we're here in the Academy now. I've got the virtual range out from a sort of 45-degree angle here. We've got John, we call him the computer. He's Canadian. Not everyone loves him. He tends to pick up good shots, forgets good shots, and only shows you bad shots. So hopefully he'll pick these ones up today. So I've got my 9-iron here. I'm going to hit you a fairly normal shot, so we're not changing any of my natural flight. This would just be my normal kind of full out 9-iron there. And we'll just look at the trajectory that takes there, as you can see, climbing up, fairly straightish. It's got a launch angle of 22 with a spin rate of 9,000 odd there. Now, if I were to play in the States, and if anyone wants to invite me out there, I'd love to come out and play with you guys. So anyone that wants to invite me out there, I'd love to come out. I would obviously need to hit the ball a little bit higher. So let's just say to raise my flight, I'm going to put the ball marginally forward in my stance, but I'm going to feel that I'm going to release it a little bit more. We're not talking about lowering flight, or we're talking about lowering flight today. So I'm just going to hit a higher one just to give us a better look at that trajectory now. So that would be my higher flight there, and I think you can see immediately the way that John is drawing that picture there, that we've got a much higher flight there and a much higher launch angle. So there you go, look, you can see the difference here, which with a 9-iron is quite a lot, but also we've got a 25-degree launch, and suddenly we've almost got another 1,000 revolutions of spin. So that's fantastic, as I say, if you're playing in Arizona, or you're playing in perfectly calm, lovely weather conditions, and we're trying to stop the ball quickly. But if we're playing at the Open, as we're saying this week, in Ireland, and we need to keep the ball down, the first thing I'm going to do, if I want to hit it roughly the same yardage, so we're looking at around 130 odd there, 140, the first thing I'm going to do, and it will depend on how windy it is, and obviously it'll depend a little bit on where the wind's coming from, but let's just say we're going straight into the wind and we want to keep that ball flight down. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take one more club, possibly 2, but certainly one more club, because I want to hit the ball a little bit softer. So the first thing is a little more club, and we can hit it softer. Now there's a great saying back in the old days, it was hit it with ease into the breeze. Now the ball back in the day, if any of you are old enough to remember, back before we had Pro Vs and we used to have tour ballatas, and even before that ballatas and so on, that had the kind of soft cover, really soft cover and elastic bands or whatever, those balls really spin, and we had to really hit those low, even with a driver into the wind. Modern tech now, you can almost hit driver normally, and because the ball's so stable, it'll go through the wind. So I think in a way, slightly reducing your flight has been negated a little bit in these modern times, but still, when we're playing in the wind, and if you watch the Open this week, as I say, at Portrush, you're going to see a lot of knockdown shots. So as I say, firstly, number 1, we want to reduce the club slightly so we don't have it to hit it so hard. If we don't hit it so hard, it should reduce this factor here, the amount of spin we have. Okay, number 2, to help me do that, I'm now going to put the ball back slightly in my stance, maybe a ball or 2 back in the stance, depending on how windy it is. Number 3, because the ball's back by definition, the more the ball is back in my stance, if I overdid that there, you can see I tend to be more in front of it. If the ball was too far forward here, you can see I'll be more behind it. So if I put the ball back, that will put me slightly more in front of the ball. And I'd also just include a little bit, I'm going to do a slightly shorter, calmer backswing, but I'm also probably going to stay a little bit more on my left side here. On the way down, I'm going to feel as if I'm getting a lot more into my left side, onto my front foot here, and that should increase the angle of my hand being slightly ahead of the club face there, as opposed to if it was US a little bit more. You guys tend to be a little bit more back with the top half here, and therefore that allows a little bit more natural loft on the club, whereas in Europe, when we're trying to keep it down a little bit more, we want to get a little more on top of it, and hopefully we should see a different trajectory now. So hopefully we're going to get a lower trappier flight, so I'm going to stay a little bit more on top of it. I've got my weight back a little bit more on my front foot, a little bit of a half backswing, just hit that lower punchier shot, and we can see there immediately the trajectory there has been reduced. I've managed to get it near enough the same yardage again to keep you that same distance up here, which is good. So straight away, we've reduced that by a good, I think, was it 25? So 8 degrees, nearly 2 clubs in reduction. Suddenly again, we can see that we've reduced the spin rate by a good 1,000, 2,000, 2 to 3,000 there on the one that I hit high. We can see those lovely 3 different trajectories there. Admittedly, I've used a slightly different club here, i.e. 1 club more, but immediately I'm able to reduce that flight by a huge amount. Now there's a couple of other ways we can do it, and there's ways of feeling it, but if I really wanted to create a low one, I would then also try and hugely draw the ball. So you can see here, and if you can see in the corner, I've just hit little fades almost. Each one of these has been just a slight little fade here, maybe slightly left to right. But if I really wanted to good English, if I really wanted to lower my flight, so say it was into the wind, it was really pumping the wind now, I would now go to play it off my back foot again, same kind of deal, a little bit back of middle, weight on the front foot, but I'd also now try to draw it. So if I now try and then move a little bit right to left on that, it should give us an even lower ball flight. So there we go. And it would run its way in there, and you can see it would end up, and suddenly we've now gone to 11 degrees, which is low, even for driver nowadays. 5,500 revs of spin, and you can see here, it would have run out pretty much the same as the others, but can you see how we've got it on that slightly right to left shape there? So we've moved the ball right to left, so we've got 4 different flights here, 2 different clubs, and just to prove a point finally, I've got my 8-iron here. So if you said to me again, you're playing in America, we're playing, I don't know, wherever you want to invite me, somewhere nice, Arizona. Quite like to play Pebble. If anyone wants to take me to Pebble, feel free to invite me to Pebble Beach, although we may have to have lower flight there because it does get quite windy. Or, you know, TPC Sawgrass looks a little bit too hard, but anywhere I would be happy. So we go back to my normal 8-iron now. So if I'm going to hit my normal golf shot here, and we should see a nice high flight again, because I've given you that US flight. And again, we just see that nice height in there trajectory wise. So we're just trying to hit it higher, I'm not trying to overfunk it, just trying to create the same little shot left to right there. So we're not trying to, and you can see there's your 3 trajectories. Okay, so hopefully your 3 or really 4. Shape, less club but hit it softer. Obviously the harder we hit it, the more spin we have, the more backspin we put on it, as you can see here. The more the ball will climb, the higher it will go. We don't want that. If we want to shape it a little bit right to left as well, being a right-handed person, that kind of top spinny flight, we'll always reduce that flight there. If you want to land the ball softly high, so if you're playing US Opens as opposed to British Opens, or the Open as we like to call it, you're going to be generally left to right. You want to get that little fade in there. In the Open, you might see a little bit more of that right to left, certainly if that wind and weather gets up. Hope that makes sense. Hope you enjoy it. Good luck to everyone playing this week. Gutted, but I've got the juniors, otherwise possibly I would have played this week.